Welcome to the Spark by Hollywood podcast. I am your host, Devora Goldberg. In this podcast, I guide my listeners through a deeper look into the parallel paradigm of Hollywood versus Jewish ideas, love, relationships, and empowerment, and uncover which one is truly attainable and sustainable for us as Jews to achieve. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Spark by Hollywood podcast. This podcast is all about shining the unique spark beyond the typical and traditional Hollywood lens. I'm super excited about today's episode as we delve even deeper into the paradigm of Hollywood celebrity, paparazzi, and obsession. Today, we have an exclusive interview with professional organizer Malka Rodal. Malka, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
And what's special about Malka, not only that she's a professional organizer, she also happens to be my sister, who I love.
Yay!
So this is super exciting for both of us. And the reason why I wanted to have Malka on the show today is because I recently read in the headlines that Kim Kardashian is purging her closet and she's selling her items to her fans. Her expensive shoes are going for $7,000 plus, and her sweaters and jackets and pants, whatever she's selling is at an exorbitant price. And besides for the fact that I'm wondering who's buying this stuff, Malka, like, if you want to spend that $7,000, could we get some priorities straight? I just wanted to ask you, from your perspective as a professional organizer, what your take on the matter is, because it's not only Kim Kardashian purging her closet, it's other people buying that stuff and bringing items into their homes that they may need, they may not need, but it's all celebrity obsession and celebrity focused.
Right. So I love the question. So I think that, kudos to Kim for purging her closet. Purging is the way to declutter and the way to make more space in our homes.
Right.
It is the number one step in making sure that we are actually getting more organized. So any professional organizer will tell you that you cannot organize clutter. You need to be able to let go of some of the things. And we can just imagine, we don't know what Kim's closet looks like unless she shares it with all of us.
Right.
But we can just imagine the magnitude of clothing and shoes and belongings that she has. Mm-hmm. So, maybe, I'm not sure why she's doing that, but maybe it's connecting to her fans. I'm sure she has some really big fans out there that will spend $7,000 on a pair of shoes that Kim wore once, or, a bag that she's selling if she wore it. Right. True. Exactly. So there's, that aspect of like, oh my goodness, Kim has it, so I must have it. And putting aside whether people could afford that or not, this is kind of like the other side of the coin of making sure that we are bringing things into our homes that we have space for, that we know where it's going to go, that it's things that we really need, because we're living in this culture of like, I can get this, I can have it, everything is at our fingertips. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to kind of slow it down, like be a little bit more intentional with how we shop, with how we buy, with how we bring things into our homes, because otherwise we end up with a ton of clutter.
Yes.
And it's almost hard to realize how we got there. Like, when did this happen? What,
Absolutely. And I think there's an aspect of shiny object syndrome. Like you said, we're in a culture where everything is at our fingertips and we could just click on it and boom. I know that when I'm shopping for something specifically online, I like to take a take two on it. I don't know, you're going to tell us what your advice for your clients would be, but I know I like to leave something in the shopping cart, come back to it a day or two later, and then see, Do I really feel like I need it? Is this going to fit well on me? Do I need this item? What are your thoughts on that?
So definitely, like, when we shop for clothes, we want to love what we're buying. And shopping online, it's hard to know if we love it because we don't see it, we don't feel it. So it's so easy just to buy and then return. And putting that aside for a second, just the buying and returning, some things that we could kind of be more mindful of when we shop is just to make sure that, like, this is something that I really like. Do I like the color? Do I like the style? Maybe take some measurements and see, is this generally going to fit? Because I run into clients who have piles of items that they were too late to returning. And now it's too late to return. They're not going to get their money back. And then they feel like they just wasted all this money.
Right.
So, if you are online shopping, then make sure that you give yourself that, okay, I am giving myself a week from when I get it till I return to be able to send it back and not just to let it sit. So kind of giving ourselves these guidelines of, what's going to work for us. And something else, so something else that I think about is when we're bringing things into our home, I like to use the rule 1 in and 1 out. So let's say I'm organizing a closet with shoes for a client, and we have purged tons of shoes, and now all the shoes fit nicely and neatly on the shelf. And I tell my clients, so now going forward, I'm sure you love to shop, right? Sure, you want to, you
Clearly,
find something you need for a specific,
right?
Right? You want to bring something, you want to buy something that you need for a certain outfit or occasion. Great, shop.
Yes.
But just make sure you're mindful that when you're bringing something in, that it has a spot on the shelf. And sometimes that means purging another pair of shoes to make that space.
And I love how you give your clients tips for maintenance afterwards. It's not like you're just coming in and you're helping them organize and you have your system and they're like, yeah, this works. But you also give them the tools how to navigate it afterwards by themselves so it doesn't become, hopefully, cluttered up again. Or maybe it should. They'll have you continuously come back to them and help them out. But I wanted to ask you, we're right about the spring cleaning time, where for some people, when they hear that, that breeds dread. And for other people, that breeds joy. Some people are excited to spring clean, whatever that means for different people. And other people are like, oh, let me call the organized fairy because I don't know the first thing that I'm doing. So if you would give someone some tips on how to start, if someone's stuck, what would you tell them at this time of year?
So I just want to share, spring cleaning from the perspective of an organizer is a little different. We use this time once a year to clean our homes and really deep clean them. And organizers, we're not cleaners.
Right.
We make sure that we leave a space cleaner than we came in, but that's not our job. That's not what we're hired to do. So that being said, going into spring cleaning, it's an amazing time of year. Just growing up, it was I was so excited. We grew up in an Orthodox home. So for us, spring cleaning is also cleaning for Passover and really going through all the spaces. And so that being said, it's so easy to get overwhelmed by cleaning or organizing any space, especially when the space is so cluttered and so overwhelming. So let's not start with a whole room because a whole room is too much. How about we start with a closet, right? And maybe what we're doing is we're taking everything out of the closet and we want to take inventory of what we have, right? So let's say we're doing a linen closet. We keep towels, we keep linens, maybe we keep some cleaning products or backstock items, things like that. So we want to make sure that the linens and towels we have are all in good condition, right? We don't want to keep things just in case I have an abnormal amount of guests in my home, right? We want to be practical. Yes. We live our life. We know who comes in and out of our home.
Yes.
and we want to save the best for us. So if anything is not in great condition, that's a good thing to throw out. If you have too much of, I would say having like one towel per person and maybe a few extra in case you have guests.
Mm-hmm.
And with linen, the same. In my home, we have one set of linen per bed,
mm-hmm.
and then a few extra for guests. And what we do, it's actually easy. I'm barely folding linen. Everyone knows it's like one of like the most annoying things to do is to fold linen.
When you see that
right?
sheet, you're like, oh, what? How do we do that again?
How do we do that?
How do
exactly.
I connect those corners?
Exactly. That reminds me, I should put together a little tutorial. But having one set of linen per bed, you wash it and you put it right back on, and then you're never folding linen.
Right.
But having a few extra, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So just be mindful of what you have, what your circumstances are, what you need. I know in my guest room, I have the beds always ready. So
yes.
if guests come, it's not like I'm rushing and it's a task that I don't enjoy.
Yes.
I have my housekeeper do it. So that's something that I can offload. So going back to your original question, it's taking it small. It's taking small steps that don't feel too daunting and overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you accomplish that, you're like, look, I could do this. And then moving on to the next thing, just taking it space by space and giving yourself enough time. Sometimes people they think like, oh, I can start just a couple of weeks before and just knock it all out.
Yes.
It's not practical.
No, it's
right?
stressful.
So like you start with spaces that you're not bringing food into, right?
Mm-hmm.
That won't get recluttered and disorganized quickly. So bedrooms are a great place to start, right?
Yes.
Use the bed, vacuum, wipe down baseboards. Those are good things to do because we don't usually do them,
mm-hmm.
right? So that's what spring cleaning is. It's just all that deep cleaning and just getting it done and once a year, just really
yes.
cleaning our home.
Absolutely. I think you gave great tips and they're very practical to hold on to. It's not just like, oh, this is how you do it. It's very practical in terms of, like you said, the word inventory, looking at the space and looking at the inventory and evaluating the inventory to make sure that it still has quality and it has, and you have a necessity for it in your space.
That's right.
So I wanted to ask you, what about if they know that their space is disorganized, they know that it's messy, they can't stand it, but they are completely disorganized in their brain. They're just not that organized type. They don't even know where to start. They may not even know that you exist to call you. What would be your advice to them to start just beyond the awareness? So they're at the awareness stage, but they don't know where to go from there. Can someone learn actually how to be organized? Can you take a frazzled mind and be like, here's this, like, do you find that with your clients? Like someone's really frazzled?
100%.
Okay.
100%. So there's like different personalities, right? Everyone has a different way of functioning day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that what happens is the way we function as children, and we're more dependent on the adults in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go off and we live on our own. We create our own relationships with people.
Yes.
Maybe we're not living alone anymore. Maybe we're picking up after a spouse or kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know enough for ourselves to be able to teach them because we're not necessarily that personality. Like maybe someone on their own is okay. I've had people say to me like, oh, I used to be so organized and now like I just can't seem to get it together. I hear that so often.
Really? So
yes.
They used to do it in their personal life, but now delegating it to others and sharing the space with others, they're not finding it.
Right. So, there's different ways of going about organizing. Someone who has a very frazzled mind and just can't seem, there's probably other things going on as well. Like usually, that kind of pours out onto our surroundings and where we're in our homes, right?
Yes.
It's probably the person's schedule as well. So it's not just one area that they're struggling with. maybe that person might have ADHD, because it's a very real thing. And a lot of people are actually finding that they are being diagnosed with ADHD as adults.
Mm-hmm.
And it's explaining a lot about why they function differently, and it's just they're neurodivergent. Their brain works differently, and so that means they need to organize differently. And that being said, it's just about finding what works for different people.
Yes.
So some people they need to get into the mood first, right? I love to open the window, let in some fresh air, turn on some music. Some people like really, beaty music. Some people like relaxing music. And I always tell my clients when I'm working with them, like, you turn on what works for you. If you want music, if that's going to help you relax, like, sometimes I'll just pick up vibes that they're like, nervous and anxious. And sometimes my clients are just like so excited, like, I'm so happy you're here. Let's do this. Let's get it done.
Yes.
So it's just all about, organizing is not a one size fits all.
Absolutely.
I'm coming in, I'm working one-on-one with my clients.
Yes.
And we are creating a system that works specifically for them and their family if they have one. And just, making it work.
No, that's so fascinating. And as you're speaking, Malka, I'm thinking of, thank God we have our families, and we know that no two kids are alike. No two learning style will work for every single kid. And I'm kind of drawing a parallel the same way that, we approach, and we should do that, the learning of a child in school. That's the same approach that you approach your clients. If I have an ADHD frazzle my client, that's different than someone who's like, yeah, I'm organized. I just don't have the time for it, and I have no idea what system.
Exactly.
Can you just show me, and I'll maintain it? So you approach it based on the type of brain that you're dealing with, which is fascinating.
Right. Yeah,
Amazing.
it really is. It makes it so unique and different. So this job is not boring at all. It's never the same thing. Every space we walk into, every home, every family is so different, and we have to cater to their specific needs.
Absolutely.
So it makes it fun.
I love that. Before we end off, do you have one tip that you'd like to share with my listeners?
One tip. So this is kind of what we started off with. I know. There's like so much to share. I think that what happens is that people get so overwhelmed by organizing, and there is, sometimes people are concerned about the cost, because it does cost to hire an organizer, and especially the way it looks on Instagram, it seems really pricey. Organizers, myself included, I like to post the beautiful transformation, and it looks like it costs a lot, and sometimes it really does. But what I want to say is that there's so much that we could do internally that really doesn't cost. We can shift the way we think about shopping. We can shift the way we think about bringing things into our home. We can, tasks that seem daunting and take so long that we're forever pushing off. I actually have this here just in case. This is my little friend, the time timer.
Yes.
Yes. And it's so incredible how helpful it is, right? Just by turning on a timer for 15 minutes, 15 minutes is not a long time.
No.
But knowing that we can get something done, even if it's not everything, it's pretty powerful. So just kind of, there's so much that we can do.
Yes.
And that can be overwhelming, but just choosing, one or two things that we can work on to make our lives a little bit more organized, seem a little less frazzled, whether it's our schedules or routines. Those are all things that we can do that don't cost any money and will make a really big difference.
Amazing. I love that. Before we end off, can you tell us, Malka, where my listeners can find you? If you have any exciting events going on, just share it all.
Yes. So I'm the Organized Fairy. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Just search it, The Organized Fairy. My website is theorganizedfairy.com. travel as an organizer. I do regular home organizing, just organizing decluttered spaces. I give workshops and I travel for workshops. So if you are doing a ladies' night out or a meeting with your company and you want to get some positive positivity going and just, something nice to do with a company. So those are the kind of things I do. I love doing moves, helping people unpack a home.
Amazing.
And check me out. And I look forward to connecting on Instagram or wherever.
Yes. Check her out. The pictures are amazing. The work that Malka does is amazing. And as always, my dear sister, I love you. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for joining. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. If you are loving the Spark by Hollywood podcast, kindly leave me a 5-star review on the platform that you're listening on. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Sparked by Hollywood. That's where the conversations happen. That's where I give you extra content on all my episodes and where you can send me your feedback, your comments, and questions. And finally, in a world where we are all enamored by the spark of Hollywood and its celebrities, always remember your own spark that you carry within you that makes you the gift that the world needs to shine that much brighter. I'll catch you in the next episode.